Hello and welcome back to the Awakening Philosophy Podcast. We have been exploring the significance of the word the. We have been reading a book that bangs so goddamn much, and it has given us the material to practice reading without interpretation. So practice to read what's there without leaving anything out and without adding our own personal beliefs, so we can separate ourselves from belief and develop understanding. Part of learning to read also is learning how to discover puzzles. Are there questions that need to be solved? Once you have a puzzle, you can be curious. Carrying a question is to be on a quest. Socrates has been pointing out this is necessary. You won't be able to discover your higher states of being, the nature of self and reality, to know the self, unless you have given birth to questions and you carry the question without dropping it. In fact, learning to carry a question and not drop it, no matter what happens, is part of the training that we are here to do as human beings. So that wherever we find ourselves, in any experience of beauty, even in the divine luminosity of beauty itself, we can keep a question. So that would allow us to, therefore, go through the experience of divine luminosity that apparently we all experience when we die or separate from our body. And instead of reincarnating back into the physical world, we can go through beauty to discover its cause, the self. Because even the most beautiful experience must have something experiencing it. If anything that exists, even the greatest experience of mind or reality, if everything that exists has a cause, then we must have a cause to that. What we've also been seeing is this applies to every moment. For there to be motion, there has to be something that creates the next frame, like in a movie. But as we see, every moment follows the previous. There is an amazing amount of order and appropriateness, but not only that, not only does every physical thing follow most accurately the previous flash or the previous moment, there also is a bringing along with each moment our personal problems, our dreams, our ambitions. So whatever is generating each moment has a profound intelligence and awareness of everything and everything in our minds. Isn't that amazing? So our goal to carry a question with us so that we can move through the model of all being, mind, into the instant, into the self, applies to each instant as well. In other words, the possibility of knowing the self exists in every microsecond. Isn't that neat? So we can map the moment, the part that we experience through our physical senses, to the transition between the gap and the moment, the whole of all parts, the model, the paradigm. Whatever is creating each thing must have a model or paradigm. Every physical moment uses building blocks or Lego pieces to create a bunch of parts that come together in different wholes to create difference and sameness, likeness and unlikeness, motion and rest. So not only is there a model for our ultimate goal and purpose, there are Lego pieces that are required to build every moment. We call that model mind itself, or the nature of all being, experienced as divine luminosity. So just as when we die, we separate from our body, we experience the divine luminosity, and based on how well we've been developing questions, and how well we've been removing our blocks, we can participate in that divine luminosity to a greater and greater extent, which has the result of allowing us to be more and more intelligent, because that's mind itself, the cause, the nature of intelligence. But ultimately, if we don't want to reincarnate back around again and experience ignorance and forgetfulness, we want to go through that divine luminosity to a higher level of being, the self. So you might want to call that escaping not only the chains of our problems that we reincarnate into, either each lifetime or each moment. This is a Socrates expression, by the way, to escape the chains of our problems and the prison of reincarnation. Our purpose here. Our purpose, therefore, is to go through some sort of learning process to make use of our highest evolved faculties, ousia, self-reflection, and logos, reason and language, to perfect our understanding. The skill is called the dialectic, that we can use to remove our false model of that brilliant light of being and the self that would prevent our access. I'm not good enough, reality isn't knowable. And develop an understanding of those two things, mind and self, the two kinds of enlightenment experiences, the two models, the model of mind and the ideal of self, so that we can experience both. Experience both without interpretation. If each moment or after every lifetime there is an experience of the brilliant light of being, pure intelligence, how can we experience it fully if we are carrying our false beliefs about self and reality, preventing us from experiencing the idea of self or the reflection of self and reality, mind? In other words, we won't see what's there to be seen, we'll be blocked if we are carrying beliefs that are different from it. So just as we are learning to read this book by seeing what's there without interpretation, without carrying with us our own false beliefs that we project, and without leaving, without blind spots, without interpretation, adding what's not there or leaving out what is there, so too is that the training. This is the training we are here to do, literally. To learn to see without interpretation, which requires a removal of the false beliefs we add and a perfection of the understanding so we can fully make sense of what it is we're seeing. Two things. One activity, the dialectic, the use of our understanding, which makes use of our capacity to reflect on ourselves that animals can't do, lots of animals can't do, and use language to nail it down in understanding, because if you can't name it, you can't make use of it. So, our most evolved features, ousia, logos, reflection and language, that we make use of through understanding, and its use is to revert upon the model of understanding itself, which perfects our understanding, to remove our false model of reality that we call belief, a false model of mind, such that we can see it and participate in it to the greatest extent, either when we die or in each moment, or in meditation, same thing. Meditation is death, in that you separate yourself from the body. But not only participate in it fully because we're not carrying any beliefs or interpretation, and we've developed an understanding so we can make sense of it and go into it further, making us more intelligent, and also if it's goodness, making us more good. But can we carry a question as we do that, even in the most intense, most beautiful, most blissful experience of divine luminosity or mind, so that our question can propel us through that model to its cause. So from the moment to the model of luminosity into the gap, the cause of both, or the instant, to know the self, our ultimate purpose. That's our goal. This applies to everyone, because everyone has problems, so long as they carry a false belief about self and reality. And anyone born into some sort of family gets it. In other words, it's the human condition. And not only do humans care about their problems and their suffering, in that they want to remove them, humans also care about happiness and goodness and beauty and fairness. So everyone is in this game. Everyone is here for the same reason, to make use of what makes us human, ousia and logos, to perfect our understanding, to purify our ignorance, the cause of our problems, our false beliefs about self and reality, and to perfect our excellence, the use of understanding, the use of ousia and logos, which is perfected by knowing the model of understanding. And of course, the model that model of understanding we call mind itself, or being, because it's eternal. It's not the physical world, it's the cause of the physical world, so it exists forever, being. But even that must have a cause, the self. So while our problems are fundamentally a false belief about self and reality that causes us to fight against understanding or be blocked from understanding through interpretation, projection, or blind spots, so too is our excellence, the truth about self and reality that we can understand and make use of in understanding, the skill and art of dialectic, but also we can directly experience. Therefore, that simple understanding has allowed us to understand the two kinds of spiritual experiences: the Buddhist nirvana of qualityless, the self, and the Taoist enlightenment, the brilliant light of being. Now I'm just using those as traditions that are centered around those two kinds of experiences. Now what we are saying is, well, you don't have to pick teams. You can understand and experience both. In fact, you're supposed to. Making this use of understanding the paradigm or the ultimate spiritual tradition. You don't have to pick teams. And what makes understanding unique is it uses understanding, while most other spiritual traditions reject it. Why? Well, we just said so. We just explained why. Because unless you're using the dialectic to remove your false beliefs about self and reality, along with dream analysis to get the specific clues you need to complete that journey, you're going to be blocked from understanding. Whether you're a Buddhist, a Taoist, or a football player, it's a human thing. So any tradition that lacks the dialectic applied to purifying our false model of self and reality, our ignorance, our beliefs, which is called philosophical midwifery, and any tradition that lacks the use of the dialectic to unpack the messages from your dreams, which is your guide to do that completely, dream analysis. So any tradition that lacks midwifery and dream analysis is going to be blocked from understanding. And as the activity of both of those things is the dialectic, we can conclude, therefore, the dialectic is necessary in any spiritual tradition, but as the dialectic is the use of understanding that's perfected by using our understanding to revert on the model of understanding, just as you perfect anything by reverting on its model, then dialectic is not just what's necessary to remove blocks and problems interpretation, it's also necessary to perfect your understanding, and it's a focus on the model which exists eternally. It's also formally meditation. So it ticks all boxes: the purification of what's false and the perfection of what's true. But not only does it do that, because we are developing questions about causes, what's the cause of understanding? What's the model of understanding? what's the preconditions for us to be able to apprehend with understanding, we're able to even go through that enlightenment experience of pure being, knowing yourself as eternity, experiencing the mind itself, the idea of self, the reflection of self. We can even transition through that divine luminosity because of our understanding, and understand that, hey, even though this is the greatest experience possible, because we have understanding in our back pocket, we can recognize there must be, through understanding, there must be a cause. You won't be able to conclude that if you just have experience, because it's the greatest experience. You can't imagine a greater thing. But understanding is our carrying a question, never dropping a question, and wondering about it with understanding is our ticket. The learning and nurturing of the soul we're here to do. The dialectic is a kind of skill that we learn, but also it's something we practice because we always use it. It's thinking, and we always carry a question. That's what it means to be on a quest. So it's a kind of training of our soul. That's the ticket through divine luminosity to what we could never imagine from experiences beyond, but we can recognize through understanding must exist prior and higher to even experience the self, the instant, the cause of all qualities, which itself must be without qualities, the cause of a manyness, which must be itself one, the cause of parts and wholes of all parts, the whole that transcends parts, the cause of oneness of that model, oneness of divine luminosity, the one, the cause of its goodness, the good, the cause of it being the truth of reality, the truth of the reflection of self, the true self. So, two kinds of models that we can perfect through understanding. The penultimate, mind, and the ultimate self, which is neat because we recognize the cause of all human problems, ignorance, is simply that, but false. If wisdom is the truth, ignorance is the false. Because we all have to derive, or we all, by being a human being in a family, we derive a false model of reality and a false model of ourself that we identify with. And it's that identification with unsuspected beliefs that make us religious fanatics, bigots, sexists, Nazis, racists. So, all human conflict is nothing other than blind, fervent loyalty to an unsuspected false belief about reality and the self. Right? What do fascists demand? Blind loyalty. What do they hate? Independent thought and understanding. They kill journalists. They want to destroy education. They make concentration camps, and the first people they send are thinkers. When Christianity was founded in 529 AD by Emperor Justinian, he shut down the academy, executed or exiled the philosophers, made reading for yourself illegal, punishment of death. Even having a Bible was punishable by death. Can't even read the thing that they're claiming to be the truth, belief. Always the same. False model of self and reality that functions in opposition to understanding, because it's specifically understanding that allows you to get the real model of truth of self and reality. And also it's understanding that allows you to free yourself from that enslavement or indoctrination of belief. So, belief, cause of problems, understanding, the cause of our excellence. It's just that simple. So then we can create analogies. Oh, hang on a second. As the right wing, the Nazis, the fascists, the people who want to hurt certain people and hoard all the resources for themselves at the expense of suffering and even the extinction of all life. What's their ethos? Belief. How do they manipulate people? They target religious people. They target racist beliefs, sexist belief. Look at the immigrants. They're the cause of problems, not us stealing everything and lying to you. It's the minorities. Yes, that's it. And while the establishment left reject the model of truth and understanding that allows the conditions for the fascists to exist, they shouldn't be a political party. There shouldn't be doctors that want to harm some patients. There shouldn't be architects that want some of their houses to collapse. Therefore, there should never be a political party that wants some people to be poor, some people to not have housing, some people to have poisoned water, some people to be blown up in wars. That's injustice. It's the opposite of politics. Shouldn't even exist. But the establishment left are their little bitches. They say, oh yes, everything is an opinion. There is no truth. So therefore, that opinion, fascist opinions, are just as equal as any other opinions. We should have them on the ballot too, which is insane. But we can recognize that materialism, or to reject the model of understanding, is the activity. It's called strict dualism, cognitive function that human beings can be in when they're not a believer, but they haven't removed the problems, because belief has to teach in opposition to understanding. And as we all get beliefs, the establishment left are just people who grew up with beliefs who haven't removed the problems that they've caused, and so reject the model, and so there's no principle that the establishment left uses, therefore creating the conditions for fascism. Whereas the people who are still tied to their beliefs, we can say, is a different cognitive function, not strict dualism or rejection of the truth, but a false idea about the truth, belief. So if we want to talk about the true left or the true progressives, what do they think? The opposite, that understanding solves problems. And what's understanding? The use of the universal model to universally benefit. So here's a quick hack. What's your policy on healthcare? Universal healthcare. What's your policy on wealth equality? Universal wealth equality. What's your political take on homes? Universal housing. Of course. Isn't it obvious when you say it? Chuck the word universal in front. What's the cause of human problems? Anyone who says, no, you don't get a house, I have all the houses. Fascism, disgusting human behavior, barbarism, immaturity and irrationality. The right. Belief. Why? Because belief is in opposition to understanding. Understanding uses the universal, and belief is a specific clan-based identity in opposition to other clans. It's a caveman cognition. My cave good, other cave bad. Inside cave good, outside cave bad, scary. That's it. That's it. That's why it's so easy to understand propaganda and brainwashing. Your skin color good, other skin color bad, scary, says every right winger. Man good, woman bad, says every sexist Nazi or whatever. So, as belief is to understanding, so too ignorance is to wisdom. So too the cause of human problems and suffering is to its solution and the excellence of human condition, as belief is to understanding. But also, as we've been saying, every spiritual tradition better have the dialectic to remove our false beliefs about self and reality, so we don't interpret or be blocked. So too, true spirituality also has to have an understanding, as the meditation, focused concentration with openness and curiosity, but also with language and understanding, allowing you to not only understand but experience the second last or penultimate spiritual experience, the model of understanding mind itself, but also use your understanding and your carrying of a question to go through it to its cause, the ultimate spiritual experience, that which is without qualities but the cause of all qualities, the pure, clear, one, good, true self. Therefore, as belief is to understanding, so too is fascism to progressivism, or the right to the real left. But so too is religion, which is to be bound by a false belief about self and reality for oppression and human suffering, is to understanding, or the dialectic. As the right is to the real left, so too religion is to dialectic. The model of actual spirituality that you experience for yourself and you understand for yourself, and you understand every step along the way. Isn't that neat? Two things. As ignorance is to wisdom, belief is to understanding. As human suffering is to a utopia, so too is belief to understanding. As the right is to the left, so too is belief to understanding. As fascism is to human progression, so too is belief to understanding. As religion is to true spirituality, the dialectic, so too is belief to understanding. So how did we perfect our understanding? If belief looks at physical things, images, our parents pretending to be knowers, our politicians pretending to be wise, our preachers or imams or ministers or rabbis pretending to know the nature of reality, that we all based on grifting, all based on appearances. We want to look at the real thing, which is not physical, but is the cause, the model of mind. Understanding isn't physical. It applies to the physical world, it has scope over the physical world, but it's not itself physical. So as belief is to understanding, as the right is to the true left, as religion is to the dialectic, so too is the word that points to a apple, a beautiful thing, or that beautiful thing, to the word the movement from adjectives, a beautiful puppy, a beautiful streamer, to the beautiful itself as its own self-existence as an idea. We can do the same for every building block of understanding, whole, part, same, different. In fact, we can find there's a list of pairs that describe everything that has to exist, and also that we understand, whole, part. Everything that we see is a part of a whole of parts. Understanding is to bring the parts into a whole. Everything that we see is the same as something else, but different, for it to be a different thing. To be the same in that it's a thing. Same thing for understanding. So we've got a list of pairs that we bring into a oneness, but also we seek our goodness. So we understand what's worth doing by a set of terms we call monads, or talking about goodness. We want beauty, we want justice, we want benefit, we want happiness. These are all kinds of goodness that we define with a single word. While the onenesses are a pair, the goodnesses are a single thing. But by the way, there's one more set of terms from a 2, a 1, a 3, or a triad. We recognize that there is a false, distorted copy in our beliefs, a lesser idea of self and reality called belief. That's the cause of our problems, individually or collectively, with right-wing politics or religion. But there's the greater progressive politics, which is simply the use of understanding to solve problems universally. Universal this, universal that, universal clean air, universal education, universal income. That's it. That's just that easy. So we've got a lesser view of self and reality, a greater, the true model, the movement from to the. But we've got that ultimate, the cause and the conditions and the principle that allows for model and copy, for there to be a oneness or a manyness, the one, or the self, or the instant. So everything that we think of in terms of truth, is it a lesser copy? Is it false? Is it the greater? Is it the truth? Or is it the principle of true? Lesser, greater, ultimate. So, duads to bring things into a oneness, monads to talk about kinds of goodnesses, and a triad, which is necessary for a mean analogy, as Diotima is to Socrates is to us, in that we are learning about this from Socrates and he learnt about it from Diotima. Female, master of the logos, master of the dialectic. For that to exist, for teaching to exist, for analogy to exist, we need the ideas of lesser, greater, and whole. But not that kind of a whole from over there, from the duads. Lesser, greater, same. No, not that kind of same from over there. Lesser, greater, and then we all become like each other in that teaching. Oh no, likeness, so we're using all of the duad terms, whole, part, same, different, like, unlike, but only the greater. So we're defining the greater in a unique way, which is separate from the lesser. The word for that is ultimate. So these are the building blocks of understanding and reality and cognitive functions. The lesser cognitive functions, belief and materialism that are in opposition to understanding of the whole. The greater cognitive functions, understanding and knowing, and the ultimate cognitive function, the self. To know these things, to know the model, to know the whole and the parts, to know the model and the moment in the instant. And we can recognize that human beings can be in that state of being of self when they act instantaneously, perfectly appropriate for the situation without even having to reflect on a model or think. Sometimes called the ideal of the samurai because martial artists train to be in that state of being. Sometimes athletes get into that. Usually it's only once or twice in their career, if they're lucky. Being in the zone or being on fire. The Greek word is juriki. The instant. So, the evolution of humanity is to recognize this simply by perfecting our use of self-reflection and language, ousia and logos, by mastering the dialectic, by doing nothing other than going from to the. A beautiful adjective, a whole used as an adjective to talk about my whole chicken. Here he is. To the whole, the beauty, which is nothing other than using our mind to turn around the model to the model of mind, which not only prepares us as a kind of meditation to experience the whole of reality, the whole of mind, but it perfects the activity as well. It allows us to perfect the dialectic. And it's that learning of the dialectic that's the model for true politics, true spirituality, and true good. That's the collective, but individually for our true functioning, our excellence. Therefore, it's a kind of learning that's used to solve problems and reach our excellence. And it's a kind of nurture that we have to train ourselves into our soul such that we can use that understanding, use the dialectic and a questioning mind in every situation, in every moment, so that even when we find ourselves in the most intense experience of divine luminosity, we can still have a question and still reflect on with understanding on it. Which is, of course, the ideal of loving relationships. When you're with your beloved, you find that person beautiful. and you can have various different experiences where you come together in intimate experiences of beauty, experiencing beauty and connection on higher and higher levels, but at every moment there needs to be the addition of logos. Love and logos. Love without understanding is terrible. Love with understanding is the path to the self. So that even in your most intense experience of beauty with your beloved, you can still have questions and still apply reasoning and still, whether in the experience or the afterglow afterwards, put understanding on it. So that in meditation, in the moment, or at the end of your physical life, between reincarnations, even in that divine luminosity, you've been training for holding a question and adding logos to love, allowing you to transition and escape the prison of reincarnation. To know the self. And upgrade or level up to a higher dimension, a higher way of being, and a brand new adventure on a different reality, very different to this current world, which we could call Hades, because it's currently run by people motivated by injustice or belief or ignorance, which is our goal, of course. So, as belief is to understanding, so too ignorance is to wisdom, so too is the cause of our problems to its solution, so too as to fake excellence and injustice to true excellence and true justice. So too is the right wing as to the true progressives, not the establishment currently. So too religion is to the dialectic. So too is the cause of our problems to the perfection of the art of dialectic, that is the meaning of life. The purpose, the learning and nurture that we can do here. And all of it, so we can, by the way, you can create a list of analogies, because while the terms may vary, the relations stay the same. So one more analogy to bring it all together. So too is the word or particulars to the word the, which raises us from the physical world of particulars, where we can derive beliefs based on following some authority figure or some other person that you see, to using your mind to know the mind. And even in that experience of that divine luminosity or understanding the whole, the beauty, another way of saying it is beauty itself, whole itself, justice itself, we can also recognize there is a descriptor, the, or self, that's being used as an adjective. We want to go from self-beauty, self-justice as a descriptor to the self. The two models of enlightenment, the two models of, well, the model of self and model of mind, and then the higher one, self. And this whole journey is the journey from to the. Therefore, any culture or any tradition that lacks the word the, they can't do philosophy or perfect understanding and knowing, wisdom, and they can't reach their purpose, which is to go through that to the self. They'll miss out on the two stages of enlightenment, the two models. And they'll be stuck in ignorance and suffering. All of it comes down to a single word, the, or its absence. How fascinating. Isn't that neat? To reflect on what makes humans different from other animals. We can reflect on our own consciousness. Do you think cows or worms or crocodiles think about thinking? Use their mind to reflect on the nature of their mind? To distinguish that there are different cognitive functions? Some people do belief, and they're terrible. They function terribly. Some people use understanding. They can understand things and solve problems, and they're the best people out there. The best content creators. Do you think a crocodile recognizes there are two cognitive functions? So it's this evolved faculty, this capacity that human beings have to revert on themselves or use their mind to know the mind that makes us evolved. And equally so, it's the human beings that reject that, have some sort of culture, maybe they're hillbillies. Oh, I don't like thinking because I'm a hillbilly. Oh, using my mind to reflect on my mind, that's... and they'll have some word to demonize it. That's hokey, right? Scientists, same thing, like materialist scientists at college. Using my mind to know my mind, that's woo-woo, fairy talk. Every culture will have their own specific, unique language to demonize the use of the mind to make use of our highest evolved faculty, self-reflection, ousia. Why? Because that's how belief functions. Because if you know it for yourself, you don't have to believe someone. You can't be a slave in a tribe. It's just that simple. Our purpose for as a human species, therefore, is to bring to light all of them. So as we recognize, oh gee, politics is easy. It's just throwing the word universal in front of everything. Universal healthcare, universal clean air, universal food, universal housing. And all injustice is the removal or the opposition to that. Not only do we have to establish and have fun creating a universal everything, but we have to address every different kind of clan belief that surfaces, that comes out of the woodwork, that scurries out, and when you lift a log and you bring the bugs into the light, you see all the different bugs there. That's all the different kinds of clan beliefs that villainize understanding and universal benefit. Religious, all the different kinds of religious cults, all the different kinds of fascist cults, all the different kinds of sexism, all the different kinds of anti-intellectualism. We have to address it because that's our purpose. That's called growing up. Addressing all of those caveman-like early evolutionary cognitive functions of belief that functions to harm and end our species. Blow up the world so Jesus comes back. Kill all the Palestinians so the Jews can do whatever. Enslave all the poor so the billionaires can whatever. It's always the same. Therefore, the purpose of humanity is to purify all, or through understanding, put an end to all family, clan, tribe, clan, belief-based injustice, perfect our understanding by reverting on universal principles, and to go through that model of the mind to the self. And Socrates is pointing out it's that last stage to know the ultimate, the final model, the self. That's the new class of man. So in other words, before morning tea time, you can go through dream analysis and midwifery to purify your false beliefs about self and reality, remove your problems, and then you can do some reading to perfect your wisdom, learn how to read without interpretation, reflect on the whole, the beautiful to perfect your understanding. But then for the rest of the day, for most of the day, you can spend your day wondering about the self. That's the new class of man. That's the purpose of humanity. So that's the evolved form of humanity. So humans are no longer reflecting upon themselves as humans, only functioning in time, but reverting and reflecting on themselves as God. The instant, the cause of the model of pure luminosity, divine luminosity, but also the cause of the manyness. So the human way of being, the ultimate human way of being, our evolution, the purpose, is human beings reverting on themselves as God that does function in the physical world. Knowing the model of self in the instant allows us to purify our ignorance, our false beliefs about self and reality, but also to perfect our wisdom. And that perfection also includes not identifying with it. When you experience ultimate reality, you know your mind as itself and eternal. Oh, this is me. Is it? Or is it a reflection in experience of you? Is there still a you that's doing the experience, having the experience? So you could say even the identification with pure being is itself a false belief. Meaning the ultimate state of man would have even philosophers and believers as their followers. Because it's required for, while philosophers can help people remove their false beliefs, you need this ultimate state of man to help even those with wisdom purify and perfect their own development of mind, which is nothing other than making use of the capacity humans have for self-reflection, ousia, and another thing that makes us evolved, language. Makes us different from crocodiles and worms and grubs. The capacity to reflect on our mind, to identify different cognitive functions, and use language to perfect our understanding by going from to the, to know the mind, and use that training of understanding called the dialectic to go from the mind to the self. So it's always a movement from adjectives to nouns, to the. And cultures that lack the word the are castrated. They are blocked from their human purpose, and they're stuck in their suffering and ignorance and belief, like the Hebrews. No word the. But the good thing about learning is you can add it. Just as we have the word croissant, even though it's a French word, if we didn't have it, we couldn't use it. We couldn't order a lovely, delicious croissant. So now it's an English word. Oh, but it came from French. Oh, it doesn't matter. We want to use it. We need it. So too, any culture that lacks the word the, they're a bunch. Throw it in because you need it. Necessarily. Otherwise you'll be a savage barbarian in a cycle of injustice and suffering. Doing injustice and suffering injustice over and over. You won't be a member of the human race. You'll be a savage. So just add the word the. That's it. But we want to evolve out of that human condition between ignorance and wisdom to know the self, our ultimate way of being that can help even the wise as well as the ignorant. So make sure your language also has the word the self. And hey, ousia, use that word too. I know it's Greek. Oh, and by the way, that model, the necessary model for all benefit, for all religion, all spirituality, all politics, all human relationships, everyone who has language and understanding, it's called the logos. Don't freak out. Yeah, you don't freak out with the word croissant unless you're a particular kind of ignorant person. Croissant? That's French. I hate the French. I call them freedom fries, not French fries. See? Ignorance. A rejection of understanding and learning. So make sure your language has the word ousia and logos. If not, throw it in. And make sure, especially, you have the word the. Otherwise, you're stuck in belief and ignorance and suffering. You won't be able to develop understanding. You won't be able to experience wisdom, to know the mind, which perfects your understanding, and you won't be able to move from the mind to the self. Because even the mind is an adjective. Even mind is self-mind, the idea of self, meaning self as an adjective. So, do all human problems or blocks from development come down to a single word? The presence or absence of the word the? Seems to. Isn't that fascinating? One word that allows for our use of ousia and logos properly. Wow. What's ousia and logos? That which distinguishes us is us as more evolved than animals, other animals. Therefore, our highest functioning that we're here to make use of. What's the skill and art that uses it? Dialectic. Therefore, what's the meaning of life for human beings? To master the dialectic. If we do it, what's the final stage of man? Man reflecting himself on himself as God, or the self, who also has the ability to function in time in the human world. Isn't that neat? One word. The. Fun. Worth reading. I think we're 92 episodes through. Has it been worth 92 episodes? Has it been a fun journey? To recognize the nature of humanity and the next stage, the ultimate goal, your ultimate goal, the reason you exist here. Has it been fun to simplify it all down into a series of pairs? Belief is to understanding, ignorance is to wisdom, fascism is to progressivism, religion is to the dialectic. Though, and also one word, is to the. Or if can be understood as the lack of the word the, we can even simplify it to one word, the. Have the 92 episodes been worth it? To understand the conflict of humanity and the nature of our purpose and excellence with a single word, the. Has it been fun? I've been having fun.
Where's the joy? Where's the whimsy? Where's the childlike wonder, dude?
Have you had whimsy and joy and childlike wonder?
I love this guy.
Do you love this guy?
Bless you. Excuse you. Bless you.
Well, if you do, then bless and excuse and bless you. I don't know what that means. This is a funny drop. Hey, you know what? Let's keep that idea of the that brings it all together into a single idea or single word and carry it as a question and wonder about it as we continue to read without interpretation and look for puzzles and questions and apply the dialectic to solving them, because you know what? We've even got more to read. There's even more book. There's even more book and we've already got to here. Oh my God. We're so lucky. So on that note, let's keep reading. Here we are. That was a big introduction. So let's have some coffee. We have been reviewing all of these pieces over the last week because there's a lot to bring together. So we started by building a model, and then we read a little bit more. So we added that to the model, and then someone comes into chat and says, I'm new to philosophy. Can you explain what we're doing? And then we have an opportunity to share our own understanding, which is a practice of that dialectic. So not only are we defining the meaning of life to master the dialectic, all of those pairs, belief to understanding, ignorance to wisdom, fascism to progressivism, religion to true spirituality. The good side is the dialectic. In other words, dialectic is for all of them. Dialectic is the art of understanding. Therefore, the one thing we can pretty confidently say, but still as a hypothesis, is the literal meaning of life for all of us. Because of course it is, it's the thing that uses Usia and Logos, and that's the thing that makes us the most evolved species on the planet at the moment. That we can see anyway. Of course it is. So, as a new chatter comes in, I'm new. What's this? What are you doing here? We've been defining the dialectic as the meaning of life, but we get to demonstrate it or practice or nurture what we're learning into our soul by running through this model again with another person. And by the way, in that dialectic, we point out, by the way, what it is the dialectic. So yesterday we defined the dialectic while practicing the dialectic. while also explaining that the dialectic is the meaning of life, and they won't see it. It'll just be an opinion unless they practice the dialectic themselves. And by the way, the best place to do it is here on this channel. So we've been developing this model and practicing this model, and then we read a little bit more. So the last addition was the word the and to our model. We started with this historical. Where do we start from? The idea of knowing the self. Then Homer saying it's possible. Even the worst Achilles can do it. Even the wise Odysseus still has to remove his problems and perfect his wisdom. And if you get there, you're Hercules, or even greater Penelope, because women have a greater odds to overcome. They have to deal with the horseshit of men. They have to win the battle without even entering the fight. They have to be cleverer than even men. The ideal woman, Penelope. The ideal man, Hercules. The earliest that's Homer, around 800 BC. The stories saying it's possible. Here are some examples. Xenophanes, the earliest written philosopher we have. All we have from him is the idea that the self is a whole and it's one, and it's what's seeing, hearing, and thinking right now, so we can carry that as a question. He taught Parmenides. He says, by the way, you won't recognize that, you won't fulfill your purpose, you won't know the truth of reality or the self unless you master the dialectic. This is the meaning of life. It's what you're here to learn and nurture. Diotima said, hey, by the way, that's true. Socrates, so Parmenides taught Socrates. Diotima said, hey, by the way, that's true, but it's also the model for a loving relationship. Love and logos. You can have a third person in your relationship, the self. As you experience more and more depths of beauty, you evolve and evolve and evolve. It's the model of the ideal relationship. Socrates had both as their teacher and said, hey, by the way, you won't be able to do that unless you also apply that same dialectic to not only your problems, midwifery, philosophical midwifery, not only the truth, true philosophy, but also your dreams. A third thing, because the dreams are necessary to give you the clues that you might not recognize about your problems, and also give you guidance in your reading to perfect your wisdom. And then we killed him before he was able to pass it on to Plato, so he couldn't teach Aristotle. So Aristotle rejected everything, and that's our materialist tradition based on, and by the way, while Aristotle was kicked out of the academy, there were other teachers in the academy up until 529 AD, when Emperor Justinian created Christianity and killed everyone. And our modern education is the union of Aristotle's problem against all philosophy, materialism. The physical world is the only thing that exists. Everything else is garbage. There's no mind, there is no whole, there is no self. And religion from Emperor Justinian, who created the Dark Ages. You can't even have a book, we'll kill you. We'll literally murder you for thinking for yourself. The Dark Ages. That's our modern educational tradition. So we have even our universities, you have a professor, which means to profess the faith. That's where the word came from. Shouting his opinions to a lecture theatre, and your job is to remember it by rote and regurgitate his dumb opinions and beliefs. So no problems change. Society doesn't improve. But also the great tragedy is it's a kind of education which doesn't improve your state of being and your state of mind. It's a waste. And also we can't solve problems.
No one seems to be learning, growing, or addressing actual problems. No one seems to be learning or growing or addressing actual problems.
As our friend from the YouTube channel, Some More News, who puts it very succinctly. Therefore, that's why. But going back to Socrates, Homer, Xenophanes, Parm, and Diot, to Soc, we have this author of this book. 2,500 years later, rediscovering midwifery, being able to remove his interpretation to read Socrates, rediscovering philosophy and dream analysis, and also sharing it in this book. That's where we started, recognizing where we are in the tradition of thought and why it's different from everything that you learn at school. And then we started bringing it into a model. So all of these pairs of terms for understanding, whole and part, have to exist as a kind of Venn diagram for whole to be different than part, but there has to be a crossover, which allows us to explain the natures of reality, the physical world, which is the part without a whole, the world of being, which is the whole of all parts, eternity, and of course the self, which is the whole that is transcendent of even both the physical and the world of being. That's all from self, and our purpose is to return to self. Allows us to recognize the cognitive functions. The nature of belief is simply a fake model based on physical appearances, parts without wholes, an imitation of actual model of mind or wisdom. And as there's a model, there's an activity based on that model. Human suffering, or the zombie life, the life of a human who's stuck in their problem like a zombie or an NPC or a barbarian, is simply reverting on that fake model of a belief as a kind of self-fulfilling prophecy, keeping us stuck in our problems. We also recognize that both the model, belief, and the functioning from that model have to exist in opposition to mind, in opposition to self, in opposition to knowing, and in opposition to understanding for it to exist as a part. There has to be some force keeping it down, otherwise the parts would rather be whole, the lesser would rather be greater. So we can understand human ignorance as simply these two cognitive functions. The activity in opposition, we call that materialism, Aristotle, or strict dualism. There is dualism as in there's a mind and a body, and never can you know the mind. We're only physical worlds. It's a bunch reductionism. Everything is just chemicals, everything is just atoms, reducing things to its least meaningful parts. So parts that doesn't touch whole, we're just parts. So we're not blaming human beings for having problems. We recognize that there has to be cognitive functions in opposition to the whole, in opposition to goodness, for there to be whole and part. Because whole and part has to explain everything. That's why it's a model. In other words, whole as an idea has to be different from parts. So there has to be that section of whole that parts don't touch. Otherwise, parts would overlap and be the same as the whole. And it would be even greater because it has the whole and it has those section of parts that isn't a whole. So in other words, there has to be a difference between part and whole for there to be existence. If everything was the whole, if everything was the same and there was no difference, there couldn't be a creation. Reality would be impotent. So there has to be the same and different. There has to be the overlap where you can bring the differences into a same. Ultimately, that's the model of mind. But there has to be differences that are in opposition to the same. So those, as a cognitive function, it's human beings that don't like being the same. They want to be racist. They want to be sexist. They want to be MAGA. They want to be religious in opposition to everyone being the same. We are the special group of special people, and we want to kill everyone else. Human suffering. So we can therefore understand why ignorance exists, why it's in opposition to benefit, why we act against our own interests, the fake model of belief and its functioning, both of which are opposition to the true model of mind, which is knowing, and its true activity, understanding. And our activity, therefore, of understanding is to perfect itself by knowing the model, moving from in the physical world of appearances to the. So we started with that model, but notice the word and the was something we've only recently added in. So we had this model of whole and part, same and different, but then we read a little bit further and we saw, hang on a second, this explains time. Because for there to be a moment, a now, it has to come from somewhere, the instant. And if the now is where we experience the illusion of motion, like a film strip, or we have qualities in the now, it has to come from somewhere without qualities. But for every part of the now to fit a model or a map for each moment to fit the previous moment, there has to be some map of the whole. So we have this brilliant light of being or mind as the transition that's known instantly by whatever it is, the intelligence that creates the moment in the gap. So we have the gap, the brilliant light of being, and the parts in each moment. So we have the capacity to experience mind itself, or the mind, or self in the instant, the self, in every microsecond. It's always open to us. So we took our model, which was theoretical, of the overlapping between whole and part, same, different, etc., all of those duads, as a theoretical model to explain what has to exist, including the cognitive functions, and we've made it accessible by bringing in time. And then we read a little bit more, and we brought in the idea of the. Here are our the whole, the part, the same, the different, which is our own demonstration of what we've been defining, the perfection of understanding by knowing the model. Oh, and then we got to practice it with people in the chat who are new. It's a win-win-win.
It's a win-win-win-win-win.
So that's what we've been doing lately, and it has taken a few episodes, and it has required lots of reflection. But we're practicing. It's worth it. And every time we read a little bit more, we add a little bit more, like the word and the. And that's where we are. And let's keep reading. Come on, Jesus, where are you? Where are you, Jesus? Do you notice, says Jesus, that both the ideas of good and one are adjectives that are used to qualify a particular noun? But with the article the, it transforms an adjective into a substantive or a noun. The power of that article makes the adjective into a substantive and has the widest scope and refers to the most fundamental of things. The indefinite article is singular. It's a one out of many, or a thing, a good. However, with the definite article the, it is singular and in a different way than the indefinite article the. With the definite article the, it is singular and in a different way to the indefinite article a. With the definite the, it becomes that which is only one, but is also above all others. It has an existence. It is the foundation for other key terms as well, such as the good. That is the magic of some languages, Jesus, says Sok. I see that you are referring to the Hebrew language. They have no word for the indefinite article, the. They do have the demonstrative pronoun, whose mark always has a specificity and cannot carry the meaning of the definite article, the. The demonstrative pronoun is often translated as that, or sometimes as the, as in one is pointing out something, such as a or that boy. That boy.
Hey man, wouldn't some kind of future where people have all their whatever basic needs met of shelter, all this crap, and they could do whatever the hell they want, wouldn't that be good? No, it wouldn't.
Wouldn't it? RM Brown, what are you saying?
Fuck you. Actually, Actually, fuck you.
Come on, Aaron Brown.
I've been a bad little girl.
Fucking bitch, pussy ass fucker.
The Oracle arcing up at Aaron Brown for saying we shouldn't meet all of our universal needs universally. But we need the Oracle to say something soothing and nice to us.
No, you're not the one that's mentally unwell. You're brave. You are crossing into new boundaries.
Ah, I thought so. We're brave and crossing into new boundaries. That's why the Oracle's right all the time. So, are you saying the Hebrew language does not have this magical term, the? Good heavens! That must mean such a language will have great difficulty fully comprehending our Hellenic philosophy. If you can't express it, you can't think it. This would tend to make people more concrete or focused on the moment rather than explore the source of all sources, a noun of mind, the. The result would focus people's interest in doing particular things, gossip and shit, becoming more concrete in their thinking, brainwashed, closed-minded, and through this avoidance miss out on the power of language for reflection, or what we call the use of logos for ousia, the thing that makes us evolve.
I find that very entertaining.
Good. It just might. This one. It just might account for the hostility some people experience from others when they seek to go beyond the concrete view of reality. The difficulty that many a real philosopher, has experienced, including this guy. This is the anime drip. Oh boy. But I'm helping people understand and solve problems. Oh boy. But it goes against their closed-minded concrete view of reality because they're not making use of the word the to go from adjectives to nouns or use ousia and language properly. Oh boy. And people say to me,
"You moron, you absolute fucking buffoon, you goddamn idiot."
Goddamn idiot.
You just attacked my person. You just harmed my body.
You attacked my person and you harmed my body for that. But never fear, we can understand how and why that happens. So let's not take it personally. So that would account for the hostility some people experience from others when they seek to go beyond that concrete view of reality that they're blocked from because they don't use the word the. Their entry into our Hellenic thought would be handicapped. I've been using the word castrated, but maybe handicapped is a bit better. I don't know, a bit gentler. Their entry into our Hellenic thought will be handicapped without the study of Greek, wouldn't it? And that's what we've been concluding. If you can't name it, you can't explain it, you can't use it. How can you order a croissant if you're too prejudiced against adding that French word into the English language? No croissants for you. No croissants for you. Unless you use the word. No enlightenment for you unless you use the word logos and ousia. No removing of problems unless you use those same words and you... Okay, calm down, calm down, calm down.
All right, enough.
Enough. So, you need the word, you need the Greek. You need the Greek. It has all the words we need. Ousia, logos, self, and the word the. True, says Jesus. But the parables would awaken the mind to turn upon itself. That's what we want to do. That's Usia, right? It's the Usia. And it would turn them about and bring them to wonder. See, we need also wonder. The wonder along with understanding, state of mind with activity, knowing with understanding, question with logos, love with logos. So the parables can turn mind upon itself and get people to wonder, and they would enter into that silence out of which, silence, enter into the silence, out of which wonder creates the passage to the more profound states of mind. And that's what we've been using to understand why this is the ultimate state of being. Even in these wisdom experiences, so in the greater, the overlap, even though it's a squishy Venn diagram, even in that activity of understanding to know the model, we also want to keep that question and if. Remember the two things about being a philosopher? Carry questions in your question sack in your inventory, and carry ifs in your if sack, your hypotheses, your dialectics. In other words, wonder and language, ousia and logos, state of mind of curiosity and activity of understanding. It's always those two. So that even in that luminosity, you can enter into the silence. Even in the oneness, you can go through to the one. Even in the greatest, most profound quality, you can enter the qualityless. The ultimate state. Fitting. Our reading is fitting with our models. It's a win-win for us.
It's a win-win.
Yes, says Salk. And equally, through language that contained this gift, it would make the passage into philosophy and our theology much easier to enter into, wouldn't it? I wonder what language has the greatest power to represent most fairly our theology and philosophy. Remember, the word theology means nothing other than all of these, as we use our mind to know the model of mind in that overlap, we recognize all of its Lego pieces or forces or qualities, this big set. So all of these things we have on the board, as well as accounting for our soul's movement from to the, is metaphysics. Metaphysics is the study of mind, or the study of the realm of being. Theology is nothing other than adding stories to those principles to make them easier to remember and easier to communicate. So mythology plus metaphysics equals theology. Earlier in the text, Socrates says if you take it literally, in other words, you don't recognize they are the principles, forces, causes, and you think it's actually a particular God, actually God is a thing in a cloud, and God's actually judging you and calling you a sinner, and he actually wants to come back and beat up all the non-believers, and there's another God that he hates and all this. If you think it's literal, you're stupid. Formally, that's what it means to be a barbarian, to take theology literally.
Disgusting.
It's disgusting.
Whore.
Well, that's a bit harsh.
Fucking bitch, pussy ass fucker.
So that's what theology is, a mythological representation of these very metaphysical principles, or thus, the whole, the part. Hey, how does beauty relate to justice? How does beauty relate to justice? Oh, are you asking me how Aphrodite relates to Apollo? By the way, if you bring it together with understanding. You can use the dialectic. Oh, you mean how Hermes relates to Aphrodite and Apollo? That's theology. And the gift is the word the. Have you ever noticed, like really, have you noticed there are two beautiful things and you wonder how can she be beautiful, but she's a whole different person and they're both beautiful? Where's beauty then? Or ever met someone who stands above all other people as the most exceptionally beautiful person? What? Why is that? I mean, she has the hair and she has the body and stuff, but why is it a special kind of beauty? Is there something non-physical about beauty? Is there a soul? Is there a mind? Is there a desire to help? Is there an ability to solve problems through understanding? Where is this beauty that it can apply to those bodies and yet in a higher sense to that person with a soul? Beautiful soul. Or if there's two examples of beautiful things, all we're seeing is adjectives, or that beautiful thing, that beautiful thing, that beautiful body, that beautiful body, that beautiful soul. Have you ever wondered where did you get that idea that you can recognize it? If you've never seen it, you've never gone to beauty school, and it even transcends your upbringing. Lots of people can grow up racist or whatever, and then they meet a beautiful girl from a different country, and all of a sudden all that racist shit drops away. Cuts through. It hits you. You're walking down the street and all of a sudden someone beautiful walks by. You can't help but get, what? What is that? Have you ever wondered where you learned it or what it is? Have you ever wondered about the beautiful? If so, you're in philosophy. If you try and understand it, you're doing philosophy. If you also get to experience it because of that reflection through understanding, that's called knowledge, knowingness. Having the two together, that's wisdom. Telling stories, writing poems, making songs about your reflection on beauty itself, that's theology. Also, it's your purpose. You're using ousia, self-reflection, and language, understanding, to revert on the most significant, meaningful things. That's literally what we're here to do. And all this, and also you're sharing it with other people, which passes on the tradition. Just as Diotima passed it on to Socrates, you too can pass it on to others through your art. It's a win-win.
It's a win-win-win-win-win-win-win-win.
In that you're benefiting yourself, you're doing your purpose, but also you're helping humanity. And that's all through the gift of the. I wonder which language has the greatest power to represent most fairly our theology and philosophy, says Socrates. The well-known inherent difficulties or shortcomings of Hebrew exclude it from doing this kind of philosophy. Without the word the, they are out. Now, this would be very significant for Jewish and Christian people. If they have the maturity and integrity to recognize the truth and not be a little bitch about it. Not mine, I'm always right. My parents are always right. My culture is always right. There was never any problem with the origin, with the Jews, with the Hebrews, with the Hebrew language. No, we were perfect always and forever. It's everyone else who's wrong. Now, that is a reaction we can expect because we can recognize human ignorance needs to exist as a necessary cognitive functional stage of development. We can overcome it, but it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. It has to exist as the part that doesn't touch the whole. The part down here, this part here, that's not whole. And it won't be a part different from the whole, different from the same, unless it was in opposition. Otherwise, if the part is the lesser and the whole is the greater, wouldn't the part want to move itself up and become the whole? Well, yes, that's human development, but for there to be development, there has to be that section that's different, that's in opposition. So we can recognize, and that's part of the book, as we introduce the truth about the model of mind and understanding and wisdom, and the truth about even its cause, the ultimate goal of knowing the self instantly and purely, we will recognize there will be different ways in which humans respond in opposition to that new truth. That's part of what we're learning. All of the different, interpretations. We have to recognize it. People won't just accept it. Not my tradition. We're always right all the time. Well, I reject this. Oh, we have someone from chat. The word can present a set of facts as existing. Like Epstein's brother asking in the released emails if Putin has the photos. No, you're still using the word the to refer to specifics. Right? Gossip. Particulars. We're looking at the principles of thinking. So you reckon you're interested in these files because they show the inherent injustice. So injustice is a functioning of parts in opposition to the whole. You're interested because you don't like that there is injustice in the world, and you hope that one day politicians would recognize there is a actual paradigm of justice that applies to everyone universally. There shouldn't be secret elites who get away with doing crimes and abusing people and using their, hey, instead of universal wealth equality, there are some people who have all the wealth and they can use that to manipulate poor people or poor children into doing crimes, to being abused, to being taken advantage of. That's capitalism. That's not our opinion, that's what it is. It's not, while we can look at examples of justice or injustice, we want to move to the justice itself. That's philosophy. That's learning. That's perfecting your understanding. So in other words, when you say, hey, there shouldn't be wealth inequality such that these people can abuse children and murder children and take away healthcare and take away housing and exploit everyone. There should be universal healthcare, universal income, universal wealth equality, so they can't exploit children. And then the people who are motivated by belief will be in opposition to what you're saying, and they'll say things like, that's not true, that's just your opinion. You're just a lib, you're just a left. And what we're recognizing is, yes, that has to function. There has to be people in that stage which is in opposition to their own fucking benefit. Hey, numbnuts, you will benefit. You don't have to go to fucking work. You can be free. You can have all your needs met. You can have clean air. You can have housing. So even though it's because benefit, goodness, excellence, justice, all of the beautiful, the just, the excellence, the goodness, the benefit exists there, by being in opposition to universal truth and understanding and universal principles, universal healthcare, universal wealth equality, etc. They are literally in opposition to their own benefit. Whether it be the religious people or the poor people who are the ignorant people who are being manipulated by the fascists, or the fascists themselves. You think Joe Rogan and Elon Musk love living in their gated communities surrounded by Nazi seals so the poors don't come in? No. Famously, Joe Rogan and Elon Musk are both messed up in the head. So even the people doing the crimes, you think Trump is a healthy dude? Miserable and sick. It's a win-win for everyone to embrace understanding and the universal model, or the, which is true philosophy, the stories about it, true theology, and recognizing that all of the whole, the beautiful, the just, you can also describe with an adjective, justice itself, wholeness itself. So there's also an adjective self used for all of those thes, so we can go from the adjective self to the self, and that's the purpose of being a human being. That's our ultimate destiny as a human race, and it's the purpose of every living being who have evolved into language and self-reflection, ousia and logos. Easy to see if you have the word ousia and logos, because logos is the activity of language, ousia is the model as a whole, which helps you to understand belief and materialism, or atheism, or reductionism, that which rejects, which is based on a false belief about reality and self. Modern science, Aristotle's tradition. But also, having the word ousia allows you to recognize there must be a model of mind, that's the experience of knowingness. Or the penultimate enlightenment experience, the brilliant light of being, eternity. Or everything out of time that includes everything in time. That's why it's eternity. That's the realm of being. That's when you recognize that you're immortal. But also, we need the word ousia and logos to recognize that there must even be a cause for that. If there can be an ousia and logos of knowing and understanding that we call wisdom together, and an ousia and all at once, I just know it in my heart that Jesus, I just know it in my heart that Trump is the best. That's an all at once called belief, and an activity that rejects, that's just your opinion, bro, the establishment left. Don't establish principles, let the fascists take over, says Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer. Modern science, we can't solve problems, we're just chemicals. If you can't put it in a test tube, it doesn't exist. Modern academia. Ignorance, there's an ousia and logos, a belief in its activity called ignorance. Therefore, there has to be a principle that allows for the greater and the lesser, wisdom and ignorance. Some inherent ousia and logos that's all at once as one, that isn't many, that's the self. In other words, the movement from descriptors or adjectives to nouns or thus allows for philosophy and theology, and also the movement from even that, wisdom, to our ultimate purpose, the new age of man that puts to bed everything else. Man reflecting on himself as God, whose activity is in the realm of mind and the physical world, helping perfect people's wisdom and helping people purify their ignorance. It's a win-win.
It's a win-win-win-win-win.
And you need a language that has the word the. So Hebrews can't do it. Sorry. Sorry, not sorry. Then add it. Don't give up. Don't pretend that everything that you grew up with was right. That's what fuckheads think. Oh, my dad was always right. I'm always Christian. I'm never going to change. I'm always Mormon. I'm never going to change. I'm always sexist. I'm never going to change. No, that's stagnant. That's not what you're here for. Add the word. Because you know what? We also have to add the word ousia and logos, so we recognize that that's our highest evolved faculties, that's the model and activity, and by the way, the activity that we're all here to master is the use of logos and ousia, which is the dialectic. Need the word the. So it's a well-known inherent difficulty of and shortcoming of Hebrew to exclude it from doing real philosophy, because it doesn't have the word the. Without a the, they're out. Sorry, you're out. Sorry, not sorry. Join the group. Join the team. We're having fun over here. Add the word the. That's it. Hey, you ever ordered a croissant? Then you've added a word into English from French. So, it's not that scary. Add the word the. Add the word ousia and logos. It ain't that scary, pal. You can have fun.
Where's the joy? Where's the whimsy? Where's the childlike wonder, dude?
And have joy and whimsy, dude.
Absolutely gooped.
And you don't have to be gooped.
I'm cute. Like, it's cutie pie.
You can be a cutie pie because
Imagine people changing their positions and improving for the better.
imagine people changing their positions and improving for the better. Can you imagine it? Add the word the. With a perfect language expressing the purest and most complete philosophy, you would have secured a way to express one's most profound thoughts. Wow, perfect language. The most purest and complete philosophy. Complete. In other words, both stages of enlightenment and the whole model. There it is on the board. Whee! Secured a way to express your most profound thoughts. Could we have said any of this without the word ousia? Or logos? Could we have recognized the mind without the word the? And our goal to know the self. Hey, you have a self, that's a self, that's a self, she has a self. I even say the coffee mug itself. Herself, itself, itself. Lots of selves. Everything you can use the word self. Are we all different? Should we be at conflict, or are we all the same? Should only the billionaires have dignity, quality of life, or should we care about the dignity of all people? Injustice versus justice. Moving from to the. One word makes all the difference. And we can express our most highest thoughts, most profound thoughts. And Jesus agrees. I agree. But what is more important to me is whether it would bring man to a higher and more profound way of being. Remember, earlier in the text we said that modern education and the tradition of Justinian and Aristotle, materialism and belief, professing the faith, is a disaster because you learn by rote. We want a kind of learning, back in page 141. In true learning, the form of the thing learned becomes transparently your own. You see through it. It's yours now. You've upgraded. You don't have to think about doing a kickflip. You just kickflip your ass down the street. It's fun. It's a win-win.
Where's the joy? Where's the whimsy? Where's the childlike wonder?
I'm cute. Like, it's cutie pie.
You be the cutest, most joyous, whimsy
4
skateboarder.
trillion people are still going to listen to this.
And 4 trillion people will watch you do skateboarding.
Well, you're doing your best.
Because you're doing your best. All learning, be it music, mathematics, or language, once truly learned can bring the soul to act without even having to recall what you've learned. Once learned, it is possible to act spontaneously. Now, because of everything we've added since this first time we read this book, we use the word instant to refer to the excellence of self, the ultimate way of being, spontaneously. With the dialectic, of course. That's the functioning of self. You act spontaneously through what the object learned. That state of excellence. Ooh, excellence. Is an experience of the mind itself. It is an openness. The mind. It is a wonderful freedom to act without thinking. That state of freedom. So where's the joy? Where's the childlike wonder, dude? Here it is, baby. Wonderful freedom to act without thinking. And that state of freedom makes possible acts that are totally appropriate to one's circumstances. Much of human learning, unfortunately, is by rote. Remembering shit through repetition and then instantly forget it after your exam. So you get a nice grade and pat on the head and you get shuffled out into the corporate capitalist machine that's destroying humanity and attacking meaning and truth. Much of human learning is by rote, but it does not achieve this inner state of mind. And surely that's a loss if that's all that's offered. It is this union of body and soul into a complete being that makes the human being. It is no different from the informing principle that brings into a unity the different parts or organs of the body into a single being. True learning unites your body and mind into a state of being where ultimately you can act spontaneously, jiriki, flow, excellence. Just as if all of the parts of your body come together into a single being, consciousness, mind, thought, will, you give rise to a greater whole. The more holes, the better, right, Emma?
Do a pogger. They're secretly turned on.
I'm too pure. Bless you. Excuse making
Damn it.
ice cream's a good. The primary purpose. The more holes, the better.
Got there. The more holes, the better. This is the problem from having a bunch of what is it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 by 8 grid of my launch pad for my sound drops, which means I have to cram a whole bunch onto the same number. That's why it's a randomizer.
Oh boy, that is a little weird.
It's a little weird, but it's the only way I can fit all my sound drops. So I had to run through a whole bunch to get Emma to say the more holes the better. From the Majority Report. Check them out. Don't talk on the Twitch though. Twitchgate 2000, Beefgate 2025. It broke the internet, some are saying. When I got banned from the Majority Report Twitch chat for agreeing with Emma. Oh,
Freaks.
there's freaks there. But still check it out anyway. Maybe watch it on YouTube, I don't know. To be expected though. Most people are in opposition to truth and understanding, but that's what it means to be a human with a human problem. Thus the importance and the moral imperative to go through this process of dialectic to remove our blocks. So, while most education is rote, does not achieve an enhanced state of being or state of mind, but which is no different from the informing principle that brings into a oneness or unity the different parts and organs of the body into a single being, to achieve a different state of excellence called mind. The turning about to doesn't create it, it allows us to participate in it. So mind always exists, that mind. The turning about to discover what learning is, using understanding to reflect on understanding, and its furthermost reach to know the model, raises that union into a spiritual union that marks the pursuit of philosophy. So, while rote learning focuses on particulars down here, which keeps you a slave to ignorant beliefs without ever questioning beliefs, true learning is the use of understanding or learning to learn what learning is. And by the way, the furthermost reach of understanding is to understand the mind, which is the perfection of the activity of understanding. So it's also a spiritual pursuit. It changes your state of being. It enhances your functioning. It gives rise to greater wholes of consciousness. But actually, what we have discovered is, so after this was earlier on in the text, we said, hang on a second, that understanding can even go through mind if you've been perfecting this understanding and having a question, carry a question to go through mind to the instant, the ultimate state of being, beyond even wisdom. So not only is learning spiritual, it's the ultimate spiritual purpose or destiny of man. So win-win-win-win-win.
Like literally, it's like win-win-win-win-win.
Like literally win-win-win-win-win.
What if a chimp had a cell phone? Who would he call?
I don't know. So, different idea of education. True learning. That's all the way back at 141. We're all the way forward at 181. So for this higher education, we need that language. I agree, says Jesus. Well, what's more important to me is whether or not this language with these keywords, would bring man into a higher and more profound way of being. Those I thought lived in a bilingual area. Well, this is Jesus talking, so where's my little character? Here he is. There he is.
You know, some people would chase a chimp around. Some people would devote themselves to all kind of science or art or experimentation. Who knows?
Okay, some people would chase a chimp around. Those, okay, Decapolis and Galilee speaking Greek and a few speaking Hebrew. When the Gnostic thinkers we have discussed, Gnostic, talking about understanding and knowing, not just belief like Paul, the fuckhead. Sorry, I shouldn't call him a fuckhead, I should say.
You have severe mental illness and you need to be fucking checked into an insane asylum.
He needed to be checked into an insane asylum. Hey, thank you for the follow, Carolina. The Gnostic thinkers we have discussed must have been Greek speaking and shared in its culture the significance of a language that has these terms. Socrates. Well, there is hope that with the realization of the integrity of the cosmos, that man will become more rational and open to the more significant aspects of philosophical life. So again, we've been talking about the difficulty of sharing this with other people because human problems are problems in that they're in opposition to understanding in the dialectic. Not everyone, but is completely closed. We just had a new follow. But when we have with this additional words like the word the beautiful, the model, we can realize there's an integrity of the cosmos. There's a meaning to our existence. There's a rationality behind all things. We can move from problems to wisdom, from injustice to justice. Then we can become more mature and rational. We can embrace the love of understanding and open to more significant aspects of philosophical life. We can recognize that learning isn't about repetition to get some praise or gold star. It's about integrating your mind and body into a oneness that can facilitate higher states of consciousness, being, and functioning. Ultimately, to escape the chains of your problems and the prison of reincarnation, to know the self instantaneously in the instant. So we recognize that there is a pattern, it is understandable, and we do benefit by participating in it. We can hope that humanity can become more rational and move into its purpose. Jesus. In what terms do you understand the conflicts of those cave dwellers? Cave, to be in the realm of to be in the realm of appearances, to be in that realm of parts that don't see the whole. Physical appearances, belief, the fake model from childhood. That's to be a cave dweller, because he's referring to Plato's cave analogy. He represents this model to talk about, hey, the human condition is everyone is chained, talking about escaping the chains of problems. We are chained in the back wall of a cave, looking at all of these images or shadows being projected on this cave, and we think it's real. That's our physical appearances. And by the way, those shadows are cast by man-made beliefs carried on the heads of our loved ones, our not loved ones, other people from our past. Our beliefs cast our projections or interpretation, and we think it's real. And if a philosopher comes along and says, actually, I can help you get out of your problems, and I can help you experience higher beauty and excellence and truth and fulfill your highest purpose, they get pissed and they would kill the guy, because they are in that language and tradition without the word the. And the cave analogy is people turning around to see the root cause of their false beliefs and images, their problems, and to leave the cave of shadows into the real world. But even then, there are objects of knowing, real plants and animals and things in the real world. It's an analogy. All of these the things, the beautiful, the just, the whole, the part, all of the thus that we use for understanding that we have on the board. But even that outside world, the story depicts a journey where you reach the cause of even that, the self, or the sun that gives rise to the life in the real world. The ultimate, knowing yourself as the God, that can function in the realm of mind, the real world in the cave analogy, and in the realm of shadows, the physical world. It's a win-win.
Win-win-win-win-win.
Win-win-win-win-win.
4 trillion people are still gonna listen to this.
Hopefully 4 trillion people will listen to this.
The primary purpose of peanuts is not to murder, it's to eat for sustenance.
I agree with that, Emma. So, in what terms do you understand the conflicts of those cave dwellers? Asked Jesus. They may be like those who I leave only with parables, but I do not explain their meaning. Sorry. So, in the story of Jesus giving parables, he explicitly says, to the many, I just give them parables. I don't give a shit about them. But to my inner circle, I give the meaning of those analogies or parables. What he said. So what do you say about those people in conflicts in the cave? They may be like those I leave only with parables, but I do explain their meaning to those in my inner circle. Cave dwellers, as we call them, are victims of having learned false beliefs of self and reality. Hooray! That's been our hypothesis. That we can understand the nature of human ignorance as simply a fake model of reality or mind, being, and self. And therefore our true use of understanding is to turn around and understand and know or experience 2 spiritual states. The model of mind, by going from particulars or to the beauty, the justice, the whole, and also the self. 2 things, self and reality, self and mind. And ignorance is nothing other than the false model of them. The appearance of certainty. Look how confident mummy and daddy looked when they shut me down or said this or that. Look how confident my rabbi or my minister or my preacher or my imam or my whatever the fuck. Look how appearance they had. Look at the appearance they had. So, 2 things. Mind and, or reality and self. What's the nature of ignorance? A false model of mind and self. Your ego, your mask. And all of your self-doubt and criticism is just the voice of your false model of self. That functions against your development of understanding and your against your experience of beauty and mind, and you're against knowing the self. I'm a small bean, I'm a bad noodle. And to that voice we say,
Fuck you. Actually, fuck you.
Actually, fuck you. So, cave dwellers are victims of having learned false belief. Oh, this is a banger of a sentence. It's a banger. Banger. Cave dwellers are victims of having learned false beliefs of what? Of self and reality. Oh my god. What a goddamn banger.
Bless you. Excuse you.
Honestly, on the real, I say stuff like that because I'm cool.
Yeah. I haven't heard that drop before. I didn't know it was there. On the real, we say this because we are cool. Goddamn banger. Victims of having learned a false belief of self-reality. They are the guardians of those. They are guardians of those beliefs. This is why we have problems. We're not just victims. We're fucking Nazis to our ignorance. Dogs blindly loyal to that without which we have no understanding of. They are guardians of those beliefs. Boo. And loyal to those who transmitted that pseudo-learning. Not only are we, like, ever met a MAGA person? Blindly loyal to their person who's been scamming them and abusing them and stealing their money and making life unaffordable and destroying people and murdering people and genociding people. Blindly fucking loyal to those who... the human condition. Again, we're using strong language because it sucks, but it's not a blame game or shame game. Everyone had to, well, chose to become loyal to their parents that they were dependent on. It's just what it means to be human. It's not a blame game, but we're here to recognize, hang on a second, if that's the case, if every human gets this false belief that we become about self and reality, that we become loyal to, that we become guardians of, we'll literally kill anyone who says, oh, we can help you remove your ignorance. Fuck you, my dad's the best dad, and beat up your dad, I'll kill you. Don't you say that about my mother, she's a saint. Fuck off.
What, are you just blowing from Stupid Town?
What are you just blowing from Stupid Town?
I don't know if you know this, but like weird dudes exist everywhere.
And you're one of them. We have to ask, okay, if this is what it means to be human, why are we here? Why did our soul come back into a life where we get this false belief that we become attached to? In other words, we're here for a reason. It's to unlearn. So we become guardians of the beliefs that we are victims of and loyal to those who transmitted that pseudo-learning. So, while the duads of oneness or understanding, whole, part, same, different, the building blocks of existence, the building blocks of thought, the building blocks of perception, everything you've perceived, everything you've experienced, everything you've thought, has been a whole of parts, has been same and different. These are the building blocks. We have these onenesses that refer to what we seek with our understanding. We want beauty, we want justice, we want goodness, we want benefit. But the nature of human problems is we have ignorance, or, so if that's the goodness, truth as that triad, the lesser, the greater, and the ultimate, the copy, the model, and the principle, or the lesser version of those goodnesses or monads, is our beliefs. So while learning is one of those monads, it doesn't have an opposite, it has a lesser copy. Pseudo-learning. We all seek goodness, that's why punishment is fucked. Anyone who does punishment, we say...
Dude, suck my dick.
Dude. Because in principle, we seek what we think is good. Therefore, there's no badness or evil in principle. There is just a lesser, in that, well, there is badness, but in terms of what motivates our soul, there is a lesser model or belief or image of these monads. Pseudo-justice, pseudo-beauty, pseudo-goodness. Hitler thought he was doing something good, but it was a pseudo-goodness, a lesser. What we want to know is find the beauty, which is the greater. The noun of beauty, the actual, the universal. Therefore, all politicians, or all cultures, all races, all species, and all planets can participate in the greater because it's the noun, it's beauty itself, it's justice itself. But also we recognize for there to be a model and a copy, a greater and lesser, there has to be an ultimate principle. For goodness, good. For there to be goodness, there has to be good. For there to be lesser, greater, and ultimate, there has to be truth. For there to be the false, the truth, there has to be the idea of true. And for these duads to be onenesses, there has to be the principle of one. So here we see that idea, Socrates saying, hey, people who are stuck in ignorance or in the cave have a false belief of self and reality, false model. But not only that, they're guardians of their own beliefs because they're loyal to the beliefs and loyal to those who transmitted that. And what was it? Pseudo-goodness, pseudo-beauty, pseudo-justice, or pseudo-learning. the false model of those things. Belief. That's why people for thousands of years have murdered and tortured people, because our idea of God, our idea of truth, our idea of justice is right. And I'm so confident, I'm such a loyal fucking Nazi dog to it, that I'm willing to murder other people. Happening today. Armies, what do? Why do we have guns and things and bombs? Why don't we just solve problems with understanding? Because of this. A blind loyalty to our ignorant fuckhead teachers who taught us this pseudo learning. So then we say,
Like literally suck my dick, dude.
literally,
I'm going to get you. I'm going to find
I'm
you.
going to find
and
you
I'm going to get you.
and I'm going to get you, is what we should say to our false teachers. And by get you, I mean understand you. Just that easy. Just that simple. Cave dwellers, says Socrates, are victims of these teachers, who themselves victims of their teachers, who are victims of their teachers. That's the lineage or family curse that goes all the way back to the cave, and literally what we're here to do as human beings. Surface all of those traditions of cave, clan identity, beliefs, pseudo models that's in opposition to truth and happiness. We're victims of having learned false beliefs about the self and reality, but we're also guardians of those beliefs. Can you believe it? And loyal to those who transmitted that pseudo learning.
Vapid cunt.
Oh, Jesus. Didn't know that was still there. Without philosophical goals, they seek power and money and empty pleasures. Now we've gone a little bit further. Without seeking the true model of beauty itself, bliss, knowingness, the model of mind and the model of self, or the philosophical goals, they seek power. Power to do what? Inflict their false beliefs, to be the parent, to be the bully, to manipulate others the way they were manipulated, to pass on the cycle of ignorance. They seek money, power. What else allows you to? Hey, someone in chat mentioned the Epstein files. Why could they abuse children the same way they were abused? Or a similar way that they were tyrannized by their parents? They have the money and power to do so. What do we call that? Sadism. A pseudo pleasure of being the tyrant, because that's your pseudo model of excellence or beauty or justice. Beliefs, the cycle of ignorance, pain, and injustice. Empty pleasures. Therefore, everyone in those Epstein files should be brought to trial, where they are forced or they are given the conditions to reflect on the model that they were imitating, that they used their pleasure and money to play out their sick role of injustice to those people, and the sadism that they were addicted to, so they can find their earliest teachers and reflect on them and give up that blind, Nazi, cruel, unjust loyalty to those early transmitters of that pseudo learning. That would be a just society. Not further torturing people, but to give, provide the universal conditions, because we all have that. But two options: find power and money to play out your injustices that you don't even know you have, that you're addicted to, or wake up to the dialectic, which allows you to have philosophical goals, and you can't have that without the word the, and ousia and logos, by the way. That's what you actually seek. So these onenesses we seek, necessarily, because we seek our good. Without philosophy, you can't define them properly or in the greater sense. So you're stuck as a zombie, an NPC, seeking money and power and the pleasure of playing out the lesser. So whether you're a capitalist wanting to abuse your employees, whether you're a military industrial person wanting to watch children suffer under your bombs and guns, whether you're a Israeli soldier getting pleasure in watching Palestinian children starve or be shot in the head by you, whether you're a tyrant, etc., whether you're a billionaire watching other people starve and be homeless because you want the monies. It's always the same shit. In other words, this book is a goddamn motherfucking banger because the nature of human problems is expressed in one brilliant paragraph. Now, we wouldn't recognize the beauty and brilliance in it had we not done 90 episodes of work in reading and reflecting and sharing with our friends in chat. But because of what we've seen, can we see how much this fucking paragraph is a banger? Look, cave dwellers, a metaphor to understand all human beings who happen to awaken to their purpose, the dialectic, are victims. So that takes not punishment. We're all victims. We're all suffering. We're all angry. Of what are we all victims of? Having learned false beliefs. The nature of all human ignorance. False beliefs, the cognitive function that defines it. What are they false beliefs of? Oh, only two things, self and reality. Oh my fuck. Jesus, is that what it means to be a human? To be a victim of learned false beliefs about self and reality? Is that the cause of all human ignorance? Keeping us dwelling in the cave of ignorance and shadows? Well, hang on a second. If that's the case, why aren't we all holding hands and using all technology and resources to help each other? Because we're all stuck in the same fucking cave. Why aren't we all creating a just world universally so we can all universally leave the cave of ignorance into happiness? Oh, there's another sentence. Because we're also guardians of those false beliefs. We're self-policing inmates. Why are we doing that? Why are we fervently defending our own suffering and ignorance that we are victims of? Oh, there's more to the sentence. Because we're loyal to those who transmitted it to us? What? Yeah. You ever heard of a yo mama joke? Sure. What's the premise? That anything you say about the mama, they're always going to be angry and start a fight. Ignore the fact there are 4 billion or like however many billion mamas out there. Your one is special. Your one is the saint. You're fiercely loyal to your own false model of your own injustice. Stockholm Syndrome. Nazis, fiercely loyal to Hitler without actually saying, well, hang on a second, why is our leader the best? Shut up, you're German. MAGA, why is Trump the best? Shut up, he's daddy. Really, is that it? Are we guardians of their own beliefs that we are victims of? That's the cause of our problems and suffering? Because we're loyal to our earliest teachers? Shit. Well, hang on, why does that loyalty to our earliest teachers do anything? Oh, because they passed on fake learning. So the nature of our ignorance and problems isn't evil, it's a kind of learning. We thought we were learning. We were being good students. Again, no need for punishment. We were good students to terrible teachers. Pseudo-learning. Meaning we have the capacity for actual learning. We just have a pretender on the throne. Therefore, the purpose is to undo that pseudo-learning, kick that guy up the throne, and put the real learning there. That we won't do unless we give up our loyalty to our earliest clan members, teachers, and stop being guardians of your own ignorance, which means removing all punishment. Because if the nature of justice in our physical world is punitive, I caught you making a mistake, now I get to punish you, says the cops, says the judge, says any fucker. To them we say,
Just shut the fuck up forever. Just shut the fuck up. Just forever.
Just forever shut the fuck up with your punishment bullshit, because we don't want to, I was always right, don't punish me, like Donald Trump. Everything was perfect, I've never been wrong. fuck off with that, so we don't be guardians of our beliefs. Let's learn about our earliest teachers and the pseudo-learning that we were fucking victims of, so we can escape our false beliefs of self and reality as the cause of all human ignorance and suffering and violence, and replace it with actual learning. Or philosophical goals. Holy shit, there's more to the paragraph. Because that's what it means to have a philosophical goal. To use the dialectic to remove this, purify our false beliefs, and perfect our understanding. Which means never any goddamn motherfucking punishments or blame or rewards even. Because rewards is another form of extrinsic or manipulation. Extrinsic motivation. If you don't have this philosophical goals of the dialectic, to know the truth of, to leave the cave of ignorance, to know the truth of mind and self, or self and reality, you'll end up seeking power and money so you can transmit your bullshit to someone else and get pleasure out of that. Empty physical pleasures that are tied to having power and money. What does that give you? Power over people. Wealth inequality. Why do billionaires exist? Because they can manipulate those who, all of those people, someone mentioned the Epstein Island, starving children, poverty, through the use of money can be manipulated, but also that threats because I have power. Why are they not all speaking out? Because the person has the power of guns, has a fucking Gestapo, KKK, ICE people in masks murdering people Trump doesn't like. It's fucking tyranny and fascism. The power to manipulate people, the money so you can manipulate people, and the addiction to the empty pleasures of participating in that cycle of injustice. All of it in one goddamn banger of a sentence. Whew. Let's read it again. Cave dwellers, as we call them, are victims of having learned false beliefs of the nature of self and reality. Of the self and reality. We even have the word the, telling us that there is actually a real self and real reality. It's not just opinions and beliefs. Materialists, atheists. Just because the religious people lie about the nature of the divine doesn't mean there's no divine. Just because the fascists lie about justice doesn't mean there's no justice. It's true and knowable through understanding and knowing. Cave dwellers, as we call them, are victims of having learned false beliefs of the self and reality. They are guardians of those very beliefs and loyal to those who transmitted that pseudo-learning. Without philosophical goals, they end up just seeking power, money, and empty pleasures.
Vapid cunt. Would you just blow in from Stupid Town?
Honestly, on the real, I say stuff like that because I'm cool.
Jesus. You say it loud and clear, Socrates. Amplified by Jed going on about it in an excited tone because, oh my god, what a banger. You say it loud and clear, Socrates, but from what I have heard, you are no stranger to pleasures. Ooh. You urge your followers to avoid what you indulge in. At least, that's what I heard. Bit of a hypocrite, are you, Socrates? Now, Jesus, shouldn't you first tell me what you have heard, you little bitch?
Yeah, you just blow in from Stupid Town.
Vapid cunt.
How can I defend myself or offer explanations when you haven't said what I have violated?
You have the brain of a child if you think that.
True enough. Some are saying. True enough, but your followers have a feud with the body and devote much worry and effort to overcome the desires of the body. And among those desires, the utmost are those of sexual experience. Feud with the body. Worry and effort to overcome the desires of the body. The utmost, those of sexual experience. You did contribute to this problem because you teach one thing and live another. Oh, snap. Oh. Oh. Someone's got her claws out. Oh. Jesus is going into full-on bitch mode. Oh. Jesus is going into it. Oh. Jesus is saying,
You've been a bad little girl and you're getting a vigorous spanking right now.
oh, Jesus is saying to Socrates,
I don't know if you know this, but like weird dudes exist every
1 million viewers and probably 4 bajillion viewers.
we're into the drama. We're going to get 4 bajillion viewers because everyone loves the drama. Jesus is
Fuck
saying,
you. Actually, fuck you.
oh, actually, fuck you, Socrates. Oh, snap. You contributed to this problem, you little bitch, says Jesus.
Vapid cunt.
Whoops. Because you teach one thing and you live another. As you have said, you fathered a child when you were over 70 years of age. That's pretty impressive, actually. What do you make of this, Socrates? I could add that some who seek the spiritual life flee to monasteries and hermitages. Monasteries and hermitages. But you have gone into those very things, having kids, as a 7-year-old, no less. You have gained distinction as a soldier in a military campaign. War hero, like the author of this book, by the way. I have heard you also, quickly, Pierre Grimes enlisted into World War II, I think we were 17, and was in a unit with he was from Brooklyn and some Texan guys, and they were responsible for turning some major battles in the war against Hitler. One of the most decorated war heroes. The only one to be given the Presidential Medal of Honor and to have it taken away from him in the same day, because while he was an exceptional person, his superiors were bitches. To them we say. Well, he was given some dumb orders and he didn't follow them, so took away his Medal of Honor. Just not uncommon. The people in positions of power in the military are often Nepo babies and ignorant and bullshit artists. Lots and lots of stories of that. By the way, we still have Nazis, so we didn't actually win the war. We didn't solve the problem. America is run by Nazis. Still, Elon Musk is a big Nazi. Not a surprise. If only Pierre Grimes was in charge. But anyway, that's a bit of an aside. Equally so, Socrates was a distinguished soldier in a military campaign. I heard you also drank others under the table and went home after a drinking banquet as if you had never had a drink yourself. So all of the gym bros and podcast bros, they're like Socrates. Big tough fighting man, drink anyone under the table, getting it on at the age of 70. So are you not different from your followers? What do you make of this difference, Socrates? When whatever is done with the mind's awareness of what is that. Sorry. If whatever is done with the mind's awareness of what it is that is being done, then the mind is free of any imposition of any fantasy. How does that make the difference? A soul doesn't desire because it desires. Rather, it desires only if it fits into what is thought to be good and real. But it is often mistaken about what the good is. False image of self and reality, or the good. When the mind is occupied with some illusion, when it does what it does, then the fantasy uses as it were the immediacy and power of the act to enliven the fantasy. If the mind is occupied with some illusion when it does what it does, then the consequences will end up in as a disaster. So, once again, the theme of today, to see and do without interpretation. Just as our reading has been careful with lots of reflection and lots of review, so that we can read without interpretation, without projecting our beliefs, our false model of self and reality that's the cause of our ignorance, pseudo-learning, and injustice. So too, in anything we do, whether we be drinking the beers, doing the fights, or making the love.
Disgusting. I'm so disgusted.
We are doing so without projection and interpretation. We are seeing what's there, and we're doing so because it fits into what is actually good and real. Good, and the real. Self and reality. Without being mistaken about what the true good is. So, in other words, the expression I've heard used before, make love with the lights on. Don't use your activities to play out a fantasy. Do it as an expression of and a connection to what is real and good. Love and logos. It's not abstinence, because it's not the activity, it's the projection of your false beliefs about what's real and good onto your activities. Thus, there is nothing that brings greater harm than if one is mistaken about what is true and real. So now we have that idea that we have been hypothesizing. The word, if there is truth, the lesser, the imitation, the pseudo-learning, the greater, mind itself, the thus, and the ultimate, the self. We're saying it's under the category of truth, but just as goodnesses imply that there's a higher term good, onenesses, the leader of that set implies a one. If this is the lesser idea of truth, the greater idea of truth, the truth of reality, there is an ultimate. The truth implies the true. And here we have the text confirming our hypothesis, the puzzle that we've been reflecting on, with the word true with a capital T. There is nothing that brings greater harm than as to be mistaken about what is true or real. Also fitting with the nature of human ignorance, problem, suffering, and conflict, the false model or belief. Belief as a cognitive function, which is a belief or false model about self and reality. It is not what is done that is significant, but what state of mind accompanies whatever is done. Naturally, what is done should also conform with one's ideal and not one's fantasy. So, to carry the truth of reality and the truth of self as best as we can, that we get from this art of dialectic we're here to master and facilitating to its experience. So it's a kind of learning not by rote, but as a preparation for spiritual experiences of those models, self and reality. Keep that with you at all times so that your choice of goals conform to that ideal of truth and reality and the good. And as you do it, as you fulfill your goal, keep it in mind. Don't give up. It's not a sometimes thing. I'm going to be ignorant for a while and then wise for a while. That's called being in a problem, son. The state of mind in which you do the things you do. Keeping it on the real and the good. Including lovemaking. Ooh. And drinking beers. So you drink and make love with a pure mind, says Jesus, that is free of any impositions of false images. The theme of today. What have we been doing this whole time? Reading without interpretation. As a kind of meditation or practice for our ultimate purpose to see and do without interpretation. Free of any impositions of false images. Equally so, our suffering or ignorance is nothing other than the imposition of false images or belief. It's just that simple. To see without interpretation or to interpret. So you drink and make love. With a pure mind that is free of any imposition of false images, says Jesus. Interesting. But that doesn't make it ideal, does it? What can be worse than to entertain thoughts one believes true and feels justified in acting them out without realizing that they are completely mistaken about the truth of what they believe? Yes, he's describing human problems. Ignorance isn't not knowing. That's philosophical ignorance. That's the good thing. To be curious and puzzled. Have a question. It's good. No. Ignorance is to feel justified. That's injustice. Whether it's the Jews murdering the Palestinians, whether it's the billionaires starving everyone else, whether it's the MAGA Gestapo murdering and disappearing and enslaving and torturing the immigrants. They all feel justified. That's the nature of man's injustice towards man. Man's indignity towards mankind. Human ignorance. To feel justified. Based on what? Belief. Always the same. Belief versus understanding. Feeling justified versus true justice. Versus the. What could be worse than what you believe is true and feeling justified in doing it, but being completely mistaken about the truth of what they believe? Again, you are right, Jesus, about that. To do what one does with a pure mind must include the very doing must fit nicely within your highest sense about being right and being just. Highest excellence, not mediocrity. Pure mind. Surely it is very likely that without that sense of justice of one's acts and the recognition that it's consistent with one's philosophical goals, knowing the model of mind and self, perfecting understanding, purifying your ignorance, That would be the four aspects of the same thing. Philosophical goal of dialectic. Surely it is likely that without that sense of justice of one's acts and the recognition that it's consistent with one's philosophical goals, that one is harboring a false idea about what is real and true. So therefore, when you catch yourself settling or doing something mediocre or not doing what is consistent with your highest, most meaningful philosophical goals, that's a red flag. It's going to take you out of the zone or the flow state. It'll tell you that you have an unsuspected false idea about what is real and true that you're substituting for your action and your state of mind and your choice of goals to be consistent with what is most real and true philosophically. So, mediocrity is a sign of a problem and a warning, but also an opportunity to engage in the dialectic to do what you're here to do. Surface that false idea of self and reality and purify it. Many believe that their fantasy life is their own creation. They fail to recognize the self-image within the fantasy is a manifestation of a false identification. They think, oh, I'm free. I'm just choosing my fantasies and goals. Bullshit. Sorry, that's a bit harsh. Not true. Actually, within your fantasy, there's still a you. As you're imagining or fantasizing, there's a you character, right? That's your self-image. That's your mom. That's your false image of the self. That's the cause of your problems that you're here to address. It's a manifestation of a false identification. In other words, a false belief that's the cause of our suffering and cave dwellingness is a false belief about self and reality that you identify with. I am a this, I am a that, I am, and then it's easy to see projected to the collective. I am a Jew, I am a Christian, I am a MAGA, I am a Nazi. No, those are just beliefs. Don't identify them with them, bitch. You'll be stuck in ignorance.
Fucking bitch, pussy ass fucker.
Fucking bitch, pussy ass fucker. And your fantasies tell you stories about that. So, when you catch yourself not doing what you're doing with the higher sense of that you're doing the right thing and you're doing just thing, and your goals are not consistent with your philosophical goals, and you recognize you're not in a state of justice, there is a message being sent to you that you are still harboring a false false idea about what's real and true, and you can trace that back to your image of yourself within that fantasy that says, I'd rather be doing this or I should be doing this other thing. Because that false identification, the character at the start of your fantasy, you don't even have to play out your fantasy. You can go back to the beginning. What's the first character? It's the first image. That's the manifestation of your false identification. Yes, says Jesus. And if one has been persuaded and encouraged to believe in such a false idea of self and reality, then they are doomed to being irrelevant. Ah, your life is irrelevant. Your influence is irrelevant. Mediocrity. You've been persuaded and encouraged by your family, clan, and upbringing, and even society to believe a false idea of self and reality that causes your injustice, your bad choice of goals, your lack of pure state of mind and sense of justice in achieving your goals. You are doomed to irrelevancy. And to that we say,
Disgusting. I'm so disgusted.
so disgusting.
What if you just attacked my person? You just harmed my body.
You've just attacked my person and harmed my body.
Cool as a cuke.
We can be cool as a cuke if we... I'm getting distracted by the soundboard. So, false idea of self and reality. We've been persuaded to believe in a kind of pseudo-learning that manifests as our fantasies and dooms us to irrelevancy, keeps us stuck in a cave only because we are fiercely loyal to that ignorant beliefs and fiercely loyal to our defenders of our false teachers, loyal to those who transmitted and guardians of our own ignorance and belief. But so long as we have our philosophical goals in the front of our mind at all times, what we have been learning and understanding about is the truth. What is the truth of self and reality? And everything we do is consistent with that and with our highest excellence. We won't be doomed to irrelevancy or mediocrity, problems or suffering. We can reach our highest goals, going from to the model of mind and mind itself to the self, fulfilling our purpose, contributing to humanity, escaping the chains that bind us to the cave, the shadows in the cave, but also escaping the prison of reincarnation. Possible in every moment or instant. Holy fuck, what a banger this book is. Woo! And a banger section of the text. Amazing. It's fucking amazing. I can't emphasize how amazing this is. The whole of spirituality, the whole of philosophy, expressed in such brilliant, simple, concise, true, accurate paragraphs. And now we have this hang on a second, this idea, hang on a second, if people who seek bodily pleasures are playing out their ignorance, what about, are we going to be monks? Are we going to live in a cave? No. Still drink and do sexy times and have lots of fun, so long as you do it with a pure state of mind and you're not imposing your false beliefs and images, you're not projecting, you're really there, making love with the lights on. And you're doing so with an eye on what's real and true, which brings us back to love and logos, the ideal of human relationships from Diotima. In other words, recognize the meaning of life, being the dialectic to master and perfect the art of dialectic by reverting on the true model of mind and the true model of self, while at the same time purifying the false. It's just that simple. And fun. And we have fun here, don't we?
And she spit on him also.
Right, she spit on them also.
Dead-eyed, and I don't use this kind of terminology lightly, dimwits.
Let's not be, oh god, I can't save those sound drops. Aaron Brown.
Like literally suck my dick, dude.
For interrupting me with that nonsense. Amazing. All comes down to one word, the, and we can carry this wondering about the self and reality and mastering the understanding through the dialectic in everything we do at all times. It's a win-win-win.
Win.
Amazing. Lots to wonder about, a lot of information there. We did a fun review, and the theme today was we've been reading without interpretation. And here we're seeing this activity of interpreting or projecting is a manifestation of your false identification with self and your false belief of reality. That's interpretation, that's projecting, and that's the blind spots. Either adding what's not there, projecting, or leaving out what is your blind spots. So in every moment, you can say our problems are a projection of our false beliefs. And to be in excellence, whatever we do, is to do it with a pure mind in alignment with our philosophical goals. To do it with dialectic, to love with logos, with an eye on the truth of self and reality, bringing about a sense of that instant, thoughtless, perfect, appropriate acting for the situation, flow state, Juriki. Oof, lots and lots of ideas in there, lots to wonder about, I hope you keep puzzled and wondering until the next one. Thank you so much for joining me. Like and subscribe on YouTube. Follow on Twitch. Join the Discord if you want. Get a notification when you go live. You can even find a PDF to the text below. And if you want to donate to the channel, that is a great help and it is greatly appreciated. There is a link to donate below if you can. And we have the first spam of the day.
You don't talk to me, you robot. Shut up.
Shut up, robot. Right at the end.
Weird business, because it's like, you know, a bunch of stupid little robots trying to spam everybody to sell crap. You need to flood these platforms. The internet is all robots.
Internet's and all robots, and to you we say...
You have severe mental illness, and you need to be fucking checked into an insane asylum.
You need to be in an insane asylum. But not us, because we're doing what we're here for. Thank you for joining me, and I'll see you in the next one.